That's a good one, Tom. If you like reality TV, you may have seen Rick Harrison's show Pawn Stars, which follows a pawn shop owner as he uses his extensive knowledge of gold and silver history to find priceless items. Under all that light, the deep shadows that had been hidden for years finally came to light as over a decade of truths are revealed. This family-run business is suddenly hit with a string of false accusations, scandals, lawsuits, and betrayals of family members. Join us as we uncover the truth about his son taking the lead role and other recent controversies. At the start of every epic story, 77-year-old Richard Benjamin Harrison lays the groundwork. This old grandfather helped open a pawn shop in Las Vegas, which was the linchpin of an enterprise based on his knowledge of precious coins during the time he had left. His incredible knowledge of gold and silver, along with his straightforward personality and long history in the business, guaranteed only success. Unfortunately, even though he was very old, his time as a shooting star came to an end in 2018. Luckily, his son Rick Harrison was there to take over because he knew early on that pawning was about more than just making a quick buck. He had already set his sights on making the business famous before he even started. Taking over from his father, he knew that an interesting backstory was worth more than the object itself. Everyone loves a good story, and there wouldn't be a queue of people waiting to buy these stories. Basically, any very valuable antique, like the kind that sells at Christie's, had a story worth $1 million while the foundations were there. Rick had a hard time making money at first, so much so that he often ended up lending more money than he was making. He didn't have as much knowledge as his father did, but he made up for it in zeal. His zeal paid off when producer Brent Montgomery pitched the idea of the show to the History Channel because he was interested in the shop's atmosphere and how the family interacted with each other. Pawn Stars premiered on the History Channel in 2009 and followed the family as they dealt with the strange and sometimes valuable things that customers brought into the store. Every day brought a new surprise for both the family and the audience, as rare comic books and strange things like artifacts thought to be from ancient Egypt and other strange things that showed up on their counter kept the show fresh and interesting, which kept people watching. Aside from that, viewers were treated to the playful banter between Rick and his father, as well as the initial controversy and financial problems. Just when things were looking up for the business, Rick Harrison and his mother Joanne Harrison got into an unexpected court case over family. Who gets to keep the gold and silver pawn shop? Joanne Harrison sued Rick, saying she was lied to about how the pawn shop was owned after Richard Harrison died in 2018. She said Rick took over her share of the business without her full understanding or consent because he made her sign over her 51% claim in the store shares while she was in the hospital recovering from a coma in 2001. She also said she hadn't been receiving the money she was owed. According to her lawyers, after Richard's death, she was supposed to inherit his 49% share of the pawn shop, but Rick hadn't given her all of the business's financial paperwork. This is why Joanne said she couldn't get an accurate account of over $500,000 worth of silver and cash. She insisted that Richard had gathered those items before he died, which made the situation more public. A big show that hurt the business's reputation and profits. Rick was sure that his mother was being lied to by some people who wanted to help themselves, and that the charges were not true. But that wasn't all. The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. In that 1 year, the pawn shop's yearly sales dropped from almost $1 million to $3,746. The legal problems didn't end after the pandemic. She filed for a restraining order to stop him from selling off the family's assets. Protection order would stop Rick from doing anything that could make Joanne dislike the family business, like moving or hiding money. The article also said that Joanne, who was 81 years old at the time, had many health problems that needed constant care and tracking. which could cost up to $115,000 a month. What shocked him even more was that he didn't hear about the restraining order request from Joanne herself, but from the news, even though they wouldn't say anything about it. Returning to the same house, he said he had tried to contact her several times for months after the incident, but had been unable to do so. This made it harder for him to negotiate better terms so that everyone could go home happy. But this wasn't the first time a friend or family member had been in a legal dispute. Chumlee, who was a beloved part of the show, I've been a pawnbroker there for over 10 years, had his share of legal problems. Lee Austin, better known as Chumlee, has played a big part in the popular History Channel show for a long time. His strange and funny personality immediately caught everyone's attention on the show. However, his life in the spotlight came with some problems, and he often got into legal trouble. Despite these problems, he couldn't stay away from the glitz and glamour of show business. His first known run-in with the law was in 2012, when he was caught on camera fleeing the police. The scene of an altercation with a man in Hollywood. Chumlee said he acted in self-defense after the man threatened to pull a gun on him and his friends, even though the victim was left battered and bleeding on the side of the road. According to him, the man seemed unaware that he was on TV, as if instinct had taken over. From what he could remember, the man only wanted to get in their car and call the police. He managed to avoid this one, but the scandal he was about to face was on. In 2016, while investigating claims of sexual assault, police found an unregistered gun and illegal drugs in his home. When his Southwest Las Vegas home was raided, they allegedly found marijuana, methamphetamine, and a gun. A police spokesman, Officer Larry Hadfield, said that the investigation was partly sparked by a recent complaint from a woman and that the officers were doing everything they could to find the truth, although he had not been booked on a sex crime charge. According to records from the Clark County Detention Center, he was facing 1 charge of possessing a weapon and 19 charges of drug possession. The sexual assault charges were later dropped, but the damage to his reputation was already done. What the police found during the raid gave him a whole new set of problems with the law. A lot of drugs, including marijuana, crystal meth, and Xanax, were seized, along with 11 other firearms, 8 of which were not registered, and evidence of cocaine use. He knew he could get into a lot of trouble, so he took a plea deal to avoid jail time. He was also given 3 years of probation and counseling after being arrested on 20 felony charges that were later reduced to misdemeanors. Next, he talked about his personal struggles with his weight, which he has had all his life, and reached a high point of 350 pounds in 2019. In an effort to live a better life, he lost 160 pounds and posted pictures of himself before and after. And then the TV star started Chumlee's on social media. Candy on the Bid is a candy store in Las Vegas that opened in 2017. It attracts both locals and tourists with its nostalgic selection of candies and fun novelty items. Chumlee is still a popular Pawn Stars member, and he's working to get better by interacting with fans through Cameo, where he makes personalized video messages. Fans are also excited about Chumlee's adventure, The Quest for Pinky, his new video game, which has a retro feel like old games. Unfortunately, Chumlee isn't the only one. Corey Harrison, Rick's son, has had his fair share of problems. Corey Harrison is well known on the show, and his goal to take over the store one day has always been clear. But his plans fell through when word got out about his antics while on a motorbike tour stop in Jefferson City. After what witnesses said was a week of heavy drinking, he got into a bad situation at a pub called Spectators, where he peed in public and threw a bar stool. Despite his public apology and efforts to clear his name, the incident still brought him a lot of unwanted attention, which he felt bad about. More problems kept following him as he continued to make headlines for all the wrong reasons in 2021. Sources said that he rented an RV in 2020 for a short trip in the California desert. The owner of the vehicle, William, said that he did not return the RV on the due date. the scheduled date, and it was already damaged when he finally got there. The next day, his assistant called to say that they had been in an accident and that the RV would be towed back, according to Volana. However, it took another 2 days for the fully damaged car to show up. Williams said that the inside of the RV was full of empty bottles, eggs, and other things, and that the awning had been torn off in addition to the normal damage from a crack. The estimated cost of fixing the damage was said to be as much as $330,000. Williams also said that the condition of the car made him cancel 10 reservations, which slowed him down and hurt his earnings. He also said that Corey's refusal to pay for the damage was the main reason he told the police about it. Representatives tried to dismiss the claims in the media by saying that the RV couldn't be driven and that the pop-outs were broken when he rented it, so he couldn't legally go back in. He tried to avoid the consequences of the charges, but they hurt his image. His legal problems were just one of many things he had to worry about in his personal life. Like Chumley, he had trouble with his weight and needed a gastric bypass surgery in 2010 and lost more than 100 pounds. However, his personal stress stayed high as he ran the pawn shop, tried to live a healthy life, and dealt with the expectations of being a celebrity. He stayed friends with Chumley and started losing weight. While Corey was the most famous son, he had a brother who was also on the show, but not as famous, Jake Harrison. It's possible that casual Pawn Stars viewers didn't know that Jake Harrison, Rick Harrison's other son, had been on the show before. The show has featured a number of Harrison family members, including the elusive youngest son, Jake Harrison, who made an appearance on Pawn Stars in Jake Harrison didn't have a big role in 200-1. He was the only child of Rick Harrison and his second wife, Tracy Harrison. Adam and Corey, Rick's two older half-brothers, were the third and youngest sons in the family, but they never appeared on Pawn Stars because they chose to become plumbers instead. Sadly, Adam died in 2020 of what was thought to be a drug overdose. According to some sources, Jake made his Pawn Stars debut in season 18, where his father welcomed him. He welcomed him to the Pawn Stars family and celebrated his first moments on the show in an Instagram post. During his first appearance, which was like an initiation ceremony for newcomers to the show, Jake was given some difficult tasks. For example, he had to tell the difference between a nearly identical real and fake Rolex. As a pawnbroker by trade, Jake was able to do this, but after his season 18 episode, he stopped making frequent appearances, although neither he nor Rick have explained why he left the show. It was thought that the demands of a busy TV schedule that included filming multiple episodes a year were just too much for him. Jake went on to graduate from high school, and since his appearance on Pawn Stars, he has mostly avoided the spotlight and hasn't had a public social media presence. On May 23, 2020, Rick posted a picture of his son's high school graduation to What do you think of Pawn Stars' rise to fame and the many problems that have happened with it? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To see more fun videos, click play on the video you're watching. Don't forget to hit the bell and like the movie so you know when a new one comes out.